Thank you for joining me on what is my first nightscaping astro vlog. So hope you enjoy this. Not nervous at all. This is only about my 6th or 7th attempt in this intro, so I'm sure this is going to go absolutely fine. So we're into a run of about 4 or 5 clear nights here in the UK. We've got a nice high pressure sitting over us. It's coming up towards the end of March. I've decided, now the moon is nicely out of the way, to drive up to Hunstanton, which is a seaside town in northwest Norfolk in East Anglia. If you're not from the UK, East Anglia is the bit that sort of sticks out to the right of central England. What's great about Hunstanton is it's on the sort of the western or northwest coast of Norfolk. So the sea there looks out towards the west. Orion at this time of year is setting in the west at around about sort of 10 o'clock in the evening, something like that. So my plan this evening is to get the constellation of Orion setting behind some of the sea defence groins that jut out into the sea from Hunstanton. So these groins have a nice kind of zigzaggy wooden structure, create a nice pattern hopefully in the water. I'm arriving about an hour and a half hopefully before high tide, so I'm hoping the water will be high enough that it is on either side of the groins, and because of the long exposures, that seawater will sort of be nicely smoothed out, and the groin will create quite a nice lead-in line through to my view of the night sky. The great thing about these groins, or at least some of them I believe, is they have at the end of them a sort of a beacon on top of a pole, which I think is just quite a nice little feature really. So I'm hoping that will make quite a nice composition. We'll see how we get on. As I left this evening, so it's just before 8 o'clock, I'm about half an hour into the journey. As I left, the sky was a little bit hazy. I checked goodness knows how many weather apps before leaving and during the afternoon. It looks like around about now that haze should be shifting from the North Norfolk coast. So here's hoping, putting my faith in some of these apps, and I will see you when I get there. Okay, so I've just arrived here in Hunstanton. Definitely a bit different to what I'm used to from a nightscaping point of view. As you can see, I'm in the middle here of a car park. There's quite a lot of light around, but just on the other side of that wall there is the sea, which I can hear lapping up along the shore right now. So I'm hoping when I get to the other side of that wall and set up on the beach, some of this light will be deadened a bit, and hopefully the sky over there will also be reasonably dark as well. It's definitely a bit hazy, but I can just about see Orion beyond that lamppost just there. You probably can't see it on the camera. Hopefully we'll be able to get some good shots. Either way, it'll be a good opportunity just to practice some foregrounds around here. If it's too bright here, I can go a little bit north of here to Old Hunstanton, where there's some nice cliffs and some nice rocks. Hopefully get some good compositions as well. But I'm going to go down to the beach now and see what I can get. So being completely honest, most of my nightscapes don't have neon lights in the background. But we're going to keep walking up this way, past all this junk, and hopefully find a decent place to find some compositions. There's loads of these groins out to sea, so hopefully there should be some good opportunities shortly. Okay, so I thought I'd found my first composition here, which is sort of what I had in mind before I left home, but I think the reality is some of this light around here is going to make it quite challenging to get a good shot from this particular place. But if I show you the back of the camera here, the idea is you've got this groin here going out to sea. You can probably just about see the little beacon at the end there. The sea is starting to get flattened out by the long exposure, it's just nicely smoothed out. And then you might not be able to make out Orion here, and we've got the Pleiades and the Hyades up there as well. Let's just get that back on. But the trouble with this is you can see in the bottom left hand corner, in fact right across the bottom of the composition there, the lights from these street lights behind me is just making that a really unattractive shot. There's nothing nice about that at all. So what I'm going to do is try and walk a little bit, some compositions that are perhaps less directly impacted by this light. It is just right behind me, so this is like shooting in the middle of a village or a small town or something. Well, I am shooting on the edge of a small town, so I might just fight a little bit harder to find a composition that isn't ruined by the very harsh orange light. Might be able to edit it out, but editing is not exactly my forte, so that might be slightly challenging. But we'll go along the beach a little bit further. Looks like the tide or the beach extends a bit further down, further over there. So right on the other side of this seawall, which you might be able to see just down here, is the sea. So the sea is now, or the tide is now high enough that I can't quite go down onto the beach just there, but hopefully a bit further down I can get away from some of these harsh lights. So see you shortly. Okie dokie, so I think we're in business with a reasonably decent shot here despite the light pollution behind me. So I'll show you the back of the camera in just a second, but what I found is a fairly dilapidated groin over there. In fact, if I just shine my head torch, you may even be able to see it just in the background over there, possibly on the camera, hard to say maybe. It's just on the edge of the beach, which I've been able to get onto here without getting my feet wet, and the water is lapping up along the side of it, so hopefully it gets nice and smooth. And then Orion is just setting down in the background there. So if I show you the back of the camera, and maybe I'll just swing the camera around to do that if I can. If I can't, let me just see if I can show you here what we've got. Unfortunately it's on the side because I'm shooting in portrait orientation. I'm shooting with an unmodified Canon 6D Mark I. I do have a modified version, but today, just to help deal with some of the colour balance, particularly in the foreground they're going to have to deal with from the street lights over there, I'm shooting with an unmodified version. On the front just here, I've got my Samyang 24mm f1.4 lens. I'm shooting at f2.8 just to sharpen up the stars a little bit, and I'm shooting at ISO 1613 seconds exposure. The foreground is very exposed in this as a result of those street lights behind me, but it's okay. I think it's controllable. I think in post-production I'll be able to bring that down a little bit and control it a bit better. There is a lot of haze in the sky, so Orion is quite washed out. To deal with that, I did some additional shots with a Alan Wallace case star glow filter, which should help the brighter stars of Orion, and I think also the Pleiades and the Hyades. We've got Aldebaran up there, should really pop and give a lot of nice colour as well. So I've done my sky shots. I'm just about to take some longer exposures, stopped down probably to about f8 for the foreground. I'll reduce the ISO as well, just to try to create a less noisy foreground. Shot about 15 shots for the sky without the filter, and I probably did about 6 or 7 with the filter. Generally find I don't need to stack as many when I'm using the Starglow filter, and I've done them with and without, just so I can choose which I prefer really. So I'll get on and shoot my foreground shots now, and I'll let you know how that goes. Okay, so my attempts at the foreground with those settings have been pretty terrible. It's very dark, so I stopped down to f8, 30-second exposure, ISO 800. I think I'm going to up the ISO a little bit and stack a number of shots and just see if that gets the desired outcome. Bear in mind the foreground needs quite a bit of editing to get rid of that harsh orange light in any case, so I'll give that a go. Okay, so I finished taking my shots for now. Foregrounds ended up being I think 30 seconds, ISO 1600 rather than 800. And f4, and that hopefully has just lifted the shadows enough without blowing out where some of these lights are shining. Decided to have a little bit of fun at the end, and went and stood on one of the sort of posts, if you like, that hold the groins together, which was in the water. Unfortunately, I'm not quite the gymnast I thought I was, and I ended up slipping off one of those logs and getting my feet wet, so that wasn't especially fun. But I did that selfie just by, I've got a remote trigger here that I attached to the camera, and just kept that in my pocket, which meant I could control the camera remotely. I lit myself using the light I'm using actually to light myself now. I don't think you can see that, probably can't make it out because it's blown out, but that's just a low level cheap video light, takes 4 AA batteries, and I often use it for sort of simple light painting and that sort of thing. I've actually, normally I would put an orange Perspex cover on that light just to sort of warm the light up, but with all of this warm sodium lighting behind me on the promenade here, I didn't really think I needed any more orange in the scene, so I just used the white LEDs, and hopefully that will turn out okay and not make me look sort of too harsh in the water. If I choose to use that shot, selfies with a face like this aren't really especially fun, to be honest. But that's it for now. Hopefully I got some decent shots out of this. Not quite the night I hoped for, probably. I think I prefer being in the middle of nowhere. Don't really like drunk people hanging around, and every so often a sort of waft of weed coming over. Not quite sure where from though. But it was a bit different. Certainly quite fun making a vlog. So if I do get any more shots this evening, I'll show you at the end of this, but I suspect that'll be it. I might pop up to Old Hunstanton, just have a look around there at night and see whether there's anything interesting that I can perhaps come back and photograph when it's less hazy in the sky, but still worthwhile coming out. I always find that no matter what the outcome, just being outside at night and being out under the stars is always a very pleasant place to be. So thank you for joining me. I hope that you've enjoyed this. I'm going to try and put a few more of these together because I always enjoy watching other people out in the field, and it's just something I really enjoy doing, so I like watching others do it. So hopefully you'll fall in the same camp. But if you've enjoyed it or got any comments or recommendations for improvement, that sort of thing, really great if you drop some comments below. Let me know what you thought and what you'd like to see differently. But hopefully next time I'll be somewhere a bit more rural, and we'll get some great shots of the night sky. Milky Way season is here, or Milky Way core season is back, and I hope to head out to the probably the Suffolk coast and get some shots out there, maybe even the Essex coast, very early in the morning. So some early mornings coming up hopefully in the next few weeks once the moon is out of the way. At the moment the moon is slap bang in the middle of the Milky Way first thing in the morning, so no good right now, but in a few days that will change. So if I've got the energy, I'll do that. I'll give it a vlog, and hope to see you soon. Thanks for tuning in. Okay, so actually that wasn't quite it. When I left the beach, I did a few more exposures there. I did put on the 14mm Samyang as well. Got up a little bit higher over that groin and did some shots sort of with probably about a third sky and 2/3 the groin and the sea, and we'll see how those come out. I've now just driven up the hill, just past the lighthouse, the old lighthouse in Hunstanton, up to I think it's called the Cliff car park. It's nice and quiet up here. It's a lot darker. I don't know if you can just see in the background there. I've tried to light it up, but maybe you can't see it. Is in fact, if I shine a torch over there, you will be able to see it. It's an old fire beacon. I think it was one of those that was built to celebrate the 400th anniversary of the spotting of the Spanish Armada. Anyway, quite a nice structure. I've been trying to work out a composition with it, and to be honest, it's difficult to make a good composition without it just looking like you've tried to sort of shoehorn the foreground into the nightscape image. So what I've done is, it's quite a nice structure, and there's just enough ambient light up here that it comes out quite nicely on the camera. So what I've done is put on the 85mm f1.4 Samyang lens. I've taken it all the way open to f1.4, and then got right underneath the beacon, or sort of reasonably underneath the beacon, and managed to get the constellation of Orion, which is that sort of pentagon shaped constellation that has the very bright star Capella, orangey sort of yellow star Capella in it. And rather than go for a traditional nightscape, what I tried to do was get a kind of really bokeh effect on the stars. I don't know if you can see the preview image there. Sorry, it's on its side. I've been shooting mainly portrait pictures tonight, but you can see how the stars are sort of slightly out of focus in the background, whilst the beacon itself is nice and sharp. And I thought that'd be quite a nice sort of bokeh effect. Because I'm shooting at 85mm, I've had to bring the exposure time down to 5 seconds. I bumped the ISO up to, I think it was ISO 6400. I can check that for you right now. No, kept it at 3200. And had the lens nice and wide open at f1.4, and hopefully I think I shot about 8 or 9 or 10 of those. I'll stack them, and hopefully that'll give a nice kind of bokeh effect with the nice colours of the stars coming out, slightly defocused stars behind. Couldn't really think of any other compositions to really do on that beacon, to be honest. Would probably look good with a Milky Way arch, but it's in completely the wrong direction, and it's too early in the night for a Milky Way arch. So that was a nice bonus one. Might head up to Old Hunstanton now as well, as I said I would, and just see what's going on the beach up there. But nice to come up here. Might also just take a look at the lighthouse, see if there's anything going on over there. Okay, so it's approaching midnight. Not going to spend much longer down here because it's a school night, but I've headed down to Old Hunstanton Beach, parked the car park by a hotel called the Lestrange Arms, and just wandered across the dunes here down to the beach. Now again, what's a bit frustrating is you probably see behind me there, the lights in the car park of the hotel are pretty bright, which is a bit frustrating, but it's definitely an order of magnitude darker here again. So what I'm doing is, whilst it's dark, the sky is still a bit hazy. There's some sort of moisture or dust or something in there. It's just sucking a bit of the life out of the sky. But the beach runs this way. I've got the camera set up taking shots of the Cygnus region of the Milky Way, which I'm hoping will sort of form a nice, almost like an arc with the beach as it goes off into the horizon up there. So in a second I'll show you some of those shots straight out the camera. We'll probably have to do a long exposure for the foreground, I would have thought. I'm using the modified Canon 6D this time. So earlier in the evening I've been using the unmodified version. This is the modified version, which is a bit more sensitive to the red sort of hydrogen alpha regions that are quite prevalent in that Cygnus region of the Milky Way. So hopefully we'll pick some of those up a bit as well if sort of the haze isn't just sucking the life out of the light there. I'm using the Samyang 24mm f1.4 lens. I've stopped that down to f2.8 just to make it that little bit sharper, and I'm taking 20-second exposures at ISO 6400, so quite bright, but it's actually quite a, in a way, sort of quite a simple featureless scene. You've got the sea on one side, you've got an arch of the beach on the other side, and that hopefully that arch sort of then is mirrored by the Cygnus Milky Way coming down from sort of the top left of the frame down to sort of the middle right, I suppose, something like that. So I'm using the intervalometer this time around just to make my life a bit easier. That's taking 20-second exposure after 20-second exposure, which means I can sit here and talk to you, and we'll see how those images come out in a second. I tell you what, this is proper nightscaping, being out alone on a beach at night rather than in what was effectively a town centre earlier on. Definitely learned something there, that if I want a nice relaxing time out under the stars, don't do it in a town. But this is great, being on a beach at night. Just some owls in the trees behind the dunes over there. You can hear the water just gently lapping. The tide, I think, is now receding. Just a lovely place to be. Okay, so I'll just try and give you a bit of a feel for the shot I was trying to create. You can see I'm right on the edge of the beach, so you've got the beach going off into the distance there, curving gently round, I think as it gets towards Brancaster up there. You got then the sea, which has been smoothed out over here by just a long exposure. And then you've got the Cygnus region of the Milky Way with all that lovely kind of dark lane structure moving up along here. So the idea is that kind of just sort of mirrors each other. It's not quite a mirror, but you know, it's good enough. And looking at that shot there, first of all, it looks a little bit red because that's the effect of an astro modified camera, and you clean all that up in and all the white balance stuff up in post-production. Interestingly, you can see just over here there are some wind turbines, way out at sea. There, you can't see them with the naked eye, or at least I can't see them with the naked eye, but the camera's picking them up. And I think just above there as well, you've got sort of some green air glow, which seems to sit in the sky as well. So that should hopefully create quite a nice colour when I come to process this. I've often thought actually whether this beach would be quite a good one to come to try to capture the aurora when it's reasonably strong. People often do from North Norfolk. This might just about be okay. I don't know if the other side of the wash, kind of I guess the Cygnus area, that sort of area, is maybe due north of here, and so actually maybe I might get a little bit of light pollution that way. Kind of looks okay. There's a funny dome I can sort of see just about over the water, but compared to at home, it's a lot better. So this is probably only an hour and 20 minutes away from home, so might well come up and do some of that. Alright then, well that was pretty fun. Heading back to the car now, just about to walk back up the beach and across the sand dunes back to the car park. That was an enjoyable evening of nightscaping, despite the fact the sky was not ideal. Definitely that haze or moisture, whatever it was sucking the life out of the stars a bit. And I probably came a little bit late for Orion setting, which is entirely my fault. But hopefully got some good images. Certainly enjoyed myself. Certainly nice coming up and spending some time at the beach at night by myself. So hopefully they've all come out okay. I'll process them later. That final long exposure that I took then for the foreground, goodness, these sand dunes are steep, might look a bit odd. Seems to be something on my sensor on the Astro modified Canon 6D. It seems to be leaving a funny mark in sort of the mid to lower left of the frame. I'll see how it looks when I come to process it. Failing that, I'm sure I can just sort of tone it down a bit and still get a decent foreground. But thanks very much for watching if you got this far. And we'll hopefully do a few more of these as and when I get out under the night sky. Take care.